Welcome to the video, guys. Today we are finally putting an exhaust on the gray 240. The hood up is fun and all, but I gotta put a hood on it and start getting it more streetable, just so I can enjoy it more, drive it around and not get pulled over for not having an exhaust on it. So we got the car in the air, gonna see how we can get the exhaust around the headers. When I built this custom header, you can see, I'll put a link in the video right here. I didn't leave too much space, but there's definitely enough. I'll have to do it in, I think, 2 segments, probably one with a V-band right here, and then another one that comes down to the exhaust, just to make it easier to install and remove. I'm gonna get the old exhaust dump removed. Gonna start cutting pipe, laying it in here, tacking it together until we get to this point. Then we will put the exhaust in so we can meet A to B, and then I'll start fully welding everything and hopefully get this done today. All right, so we'll start by removing the 2 O2 sensors, getting the V-band clamp off, start mocking up the down pipe towards the back of the firewall, and then we'll start angling it down. Woo-hoo-hoo. Running a little rich, bro. So there's 2 O2 sensors. I had the factory O2 sensor and the AEM. The AEM wasn't talking to the Apexi Power FC ECU. So I will be removing one bung and I'll only be using the AEM with the feedback from the AEM gauge itself back to the Series 2 ECU. So I only need one bung, making things a little bit simpler. Hang on. Oh, right on the valve cover. Oh yeah, this thing is turd. This was done very hastily just to get the car on the dyno a while back. And I used a MIG to weld stainless. Not a good idea. I've tried to do this before. They don't fit very well, so we're gonna need to go straight down through this hole right here to get it to work. Hopefully it goes easier than I'm thinking, but we're probably gonna be here for a couple of hours. At this point, I realized I would not be able to get the exact cuts I would like using the grinder or bandsaw. So I packed everything up, headed down to Coop's shop to use this plasma cutter to get the pie cuts a little bit more accurate. Die grinder, flapper, done. So we're back at my place, gonna get the car up in the air, pull the fuel pump housing out and change the pump. Before we do all that, we'll have to cut off the ends of the fuel hat and weld on more AN fittings, just like we did on the drift car. Then we'll drain the coolant, pull the front timing cover off, change the timing belt, make sure the idler pulley and tensioner are in good shape. There has been an audible sound. I believe it's rubbing against the case or the tensioner pulley is too tight. So we're gonna dig into it now. Hopefully everything goes well. TJ rolled over, gonna pull the radiator, drain the fluid, get the fans off, pull the, I think I gotta pull the alternator belt off, get the lower housing off. Hopefully everything looks okay. It sounds terrible, so we will find out. Oh yeah, dude. Wow. Yo. That's not good. Yo. Well, good thing we decided to change the belt. Ready? Oh. Bro! There's half a belt on the RB right now. Look at that. Holy shit. Look at it. What even happened? I'm gonna start pulling alternator belt off, pull the harmonic balancer, get the lower cover off, check the pulleys, see why it's trying to walk. Hopefully a cam's not bent. That would suck. Let's pull the cover off with the lower cover. I got to get the water pump pulley off, lower cover, and then check out what's going on in there. I got the bottom cover off. It looks like tensioner pulley is misaligned. You can see this thing is just getting destroyed. You can see where the tensioner pulley sits right there, and then the idler pulley is over here to the left. It was rubbing significantly in the middle on the tensioner pulley, so going to pull the pulleys off and check alignment with the block. So I figured it out. I don't know where these two washers came from, but they do not belong here. So you can see right there, there's an indentation of where the old washer was. So what that was doing is when you had it bolted down, it would cock this either out, and I think it may have been down a little bit, so that belt wanted to travel forward once the tension was put on it. I'm actually shocked it's gone about 1,800 miles with this. I don't know why these washers are here, but this is exactly what's wrong with the whole setup. So get rid of these. The bearings look brand new still. In fact, they are only 1,800 miles old. Timing belt's installed. Now I'm gonna put the harmonic balancer, lower cover, and start getting everything wrapped up. All right, so gotta install the AAM cast disk so the AAM computer can communicate with the old relic of a sensor that's here. I've heard it's very hard to take these apart, so we'll learn together. I took all the screws out, 3 top, 2 on the side. The internet says to tap the shaft. The internet wins again. And there it is. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. I actually replaced one of these on Yoshi when I couldn't get it to fire. Turns out it skipped a tooth on the timing chain and we're still rocking it. Now you gotta tap the dowel to get the snout off of the shaft. All right, well, some of you might not be able to do that. If you can't, get a little Dremel tool. Don't cut your fingers off. So after you grind it off, you can use a small punch or an Allen key because your boy doesn't have a punch. Once you get the punch all the way out, then you're gonna have to insert the punch down the snout, and you can actually avoid the half crescent and hit the base plate, and you can knock the sensor out of the snout. Now we have to get this bearing off. They recommend using a little puller to grab the bearing, but we don't have one, so I just ground down the jaws on my vise and set the bearing inside the groove, and then take a 7mm socket, slide it over the half crescent key, and you just give her some love taps apparently. Well, it worked. You have to get the other end of the shaft out of this bearing. All right, so you just rotate it, spin it out, and that's the top. There's a mark here, I believe that's top dead center on cylinder 1. It's more of an acute angle between that one and that one. So if you put these together, you can see those holes line up, but if you flip it, line the holes back up, they're a little off. See, it's off about maybe 2-3 degrees. So it's gotta go this way, and they line up with the dowel pit. And then you rotate it back into place, and put it back together. So I borrowed Coop's little Everlast TIG, going to weld the bungs on the fuel hat and get that ready, and then I'm gonna jump right into getting the exhaust put on because I only have this welder for about 6 hours, so I gotta start moving. Here's the little bungs. These bungs will get welded directly onto the sending hat here, so I can thread AN fittings onto it, just like the drift car. We got them both burned on. Not the most beautiful welding, but it'll work and it's not gonna leak. Done with this, going to move on to the exhaust. Got all the pie cuts over here. Got them all cleaned and deburred, ready to weld. So we're gonna start tacking this together and making it work. I'm going to start off just making a little 90, probably 80-degree turn. It's easier to weld a couple together on the table here, go fit it, bring it back, and make changes as I go than it is to weld it inside the car. So the way I cut these is 9 degrees and 9 degrees make 18. 5 of these will make a 90, and then you can adjust, you know, in increments depending on if you go from a flat edge to it or if you used a 9 degree and come off of your 18s. You can achieve multiple angles just by stacking different pie cuts. It is more welding than it would be just to buy a 90, but this is all I had on hand, and I'm not afraid of a little bit of work, so. Hey.
You know when you don't answer your mother's text, she calls you to make sure you're not in jail.
No, you're good. Tacked our 90 onto a little straight piece so I can slide it down. It'll go somewhere in this area, and then I'll have to start turning back and going down the firewall. But this come here, so I'm thinking we're gonna need another piece in there, which I have a perfect piece over there, I think. Here is the elbow, and I cut it to fit, slides right in down here, and it mates right up perfectly there. Gonna tack it all together, and then I'm gonna finish weld this, and then hopefully start connecting it to the rest of the exhaust. What we've ended up with, kind of a funky shape, but it kicks it back over the back number 6 runner, so should work out pretty well. I'm gonna get it finished welded, plop it in. Probably going to wait to do the rest of it until I have the lift. We got the down pipe completely welded up, got the O2 bung installed. Oh, I just popped it. Oh, anyway, down pipe's done. The majority of it, I'm not gonna weld under the car anymore or even tack things. I am so over that now that I have access to the 10,000-pound lift. Now we're going to get the fuel pump actually installed in the hat because I didn't have the welder at the time, and now everything's done. So I'm gonna get the new Hellcat fuel pump. This is like a 525 or something, more than enough to make 700. I'm going to get everything installed onto the hat. Got the bungs on there, gonna get it installed. See what kind of plumbing I need to change. Probably gonna have to throw some AAN fittings on the ends of the lines, and then just hopefully it reaches. I might need to cut it back a little bit farther and extend a portion of the lines. I think I left enough slack in them to make it work, but we'll get to this and see if it works. So we got all of the front accessory drive installed. I've got the power steering pump. I had to reseal the power steering pump because it was leaking. I just pulled the back cover off and put a new O-ring on the back of it. Put the alternator on. I actually broke off the tensioner bolt when I was removing it to get the belt off. Everything's back installed. I have to put the radiator and the fan back on, and then the front end is done, minus some of the wiring for the computer. I'm waiting on AN fittings for the fuel hat. Might be a couple weeks for that, but we're gonna get the radiator installed, wrap up the front end, and then we can start moving to other things. Boom. That'll do it for this video. The next video, we're gonna be installing the ECU, doing the sensor wiring, your map sensor, your boost controller, all the wiring. I've gotta do a new clutch line, gotta do the gauge feedback from the AEM setup I have inside, gotta put the hood on, return spring for the throttle body, turbo blanket, mount the gauges inside, oil change. I gotta clean this thing. It is a mess. Weld the wastegates. I have to weld these two wastegates and join them so I can cut a hole in the hood. New master cylinder, paint the frame because the old master cylinder leaked over on that side of the frame rail and burnt all the paint off. Mount the fuse boxes, get a new air filter because we don't need to run the MAF anymore. Since we are running a map sensor, this whole setup is actually going in the bin. If anyone needs a Z32 map, I have one. I'm sorry that you need one. And the last thing is the two-step switch for the clutch. When you depress the clutch pedal, the two-step will engage. I'm probably gonna run it around 3,000, 4,000 RPM. Just to get some good fireballs coming out of it and make some boost off the line. But that'll be it. If you like the video, subscribe, hit the like button, share it with your friends, hit the post notification so you know when the video goes up. In the next video, you don't want to miss it. This thing will be on the dyno, shooting fireballs, hopefully staying in one piece.